Welcome to Abuja, the place that unites Nigeria. Slavery is an evil practice abolished.
Xenophobia. That is the word trending most in Nigeria today. And I'm sure you know where the narrative is coming from. This is what will trend on News Extra tonight, with presidential concern leading the way. But that won't be all, as the president has been busy with other matters as well, like ensuring Nigerian engineers give their best to the infrastructural push the government has in mind for the next level agenda. And as usual, there are varieties of interesting stories ranging from security, development, business to sports, and of course Thursday's weather prospects in this wet season. That's the broad outlook of the program tonight. But let me start from where I ought to have started. Good evening and welcome to News Extra, the bulletin that brings you the news with the extra touch. So as usual, sit back and enjoy the taste of the pudding in the eating. Let me, Fatima, serve you. Like I said, I am Fatima Umar Buba, and you're welcome. The federal government is reassuring the nation that it will not abdicate its responsibility at adequately protecting Nigerians and their legitimate economic interest anywhere in the world. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, stated this while briefing journalists after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari on the reported xenophobia attacks against Nigerians in South Africa.
Happened in South Africa is totally unacceptable. We will not accept it, and as I said earlier, enough is enough, and we're not going to come back to this. We're going to have to address it once and for all this time. So this is a position of the government that we're going to draw a red line here, and whatever measure that needs to be taken to ensure the safety of Nigerians in South Africa, we will take. And we have a very clear idea of what we want to achieve, and the Special Envoy has very clear directives from Mr. President about the commitments and guarantees that we expect from the South African government.
The minister described as unfortunate and counterproductive distorted reports being circulated on the development in South Africa, which he said has impacted on Nigeria's response to the situation.
From the High Commission and the Consul General in South Africa is that no Nigerian life has been lost during these crises. And I think that's very important, because on social media, there's a lot of stories going around, Nigerians being killed, jumping off buildings, and being burnt. This is not the case. What we know that premises, shops of Nigerians have been looted and properties destroyed.
Mr. Onyema confirmed the stepping down of Nigeria's participation at the World Economic Forum in Cape Town, the recall of the nation's High Commissioner to South Africa, as well as the demand of full compensation on losses suffered by Nigerians in that country. However, he said, President Buhari is worried over the acts of vandalism which took place in Nigeria in retaliation to the happenings in South Africa.
Is that we have to take the moral high ground on this matter. We here in Nigeria must not fall into the temptation of also resorting to the acts that we are condemning in others. People that will suffer from those acts of vandalism and aggression are not South Africans or anyone else, but they are Nigerians. The government is acting. We cannot state everything and put everything in the public domain with regards to what we are doing, obviously, but want to assure all Nigerians that this government is determined that the red line has been drawn and that we will not give in on this occasion, and that the South African government has to assume its responsibilities and do the right thing. And we're going to consider other options to ensure that the message gets across to the government of South Africa. It's not a question of weakness or anything of the sort. We have to move, but we have to move decisively.
He also said on the return of the special envoy, whose identity is to be made public, the federal government will assess the report, look at all available options and take appropriate measures towards putting a stop to the attacks against Nigerians in South Africa. And following reported cases of attempts by some individuals to attack South African interests in parts of the country, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has appealed to Nigerians not to engage in any reprisal against the South Africans and their investments in Nigeria. The Vice President says government is already taking actions at the highest level to bring an end to the xenophobic attacks and ensure that the perpetrators are punished.
Must also realize that two wrongs do not make a right. The death of so many of Nigerians is regrettable, and I express the sincere condolences of the government and many Nigerians to the families who have lost their loved ones. The government has already in very strong terms expressed our outrage to the South African government, and the President has also decided that an envoy will be going over to South Africa to express complete objection and the fact that we're so offended by what has happened. So that I think will suffice, for now. But we must be careful not to hurt ourselves by attacking businesses that we think are South African. Practically all of those businesses, MTN, look at the number of people that are employed, they're all Nigerians. Same as ShopRite, shops are owned, many of the shops in the malls are owned by Nigerians. So I think we should really be calm and allow peace to reign. Two wrongs do not make a right. Let's consolidate on what we have in Nigeria and continue to ensure that we do not allow what has happened in South Africa to repeat itself.
Meanwhile, former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Abuja, Professor Nuhu Yakubu, has joined other voices calling for restraint over adverse reaction against xenophobic attacks in South Africa.
So we have really played critical leadership roles. This is what Nigerians, I think, should have put into consideration in terms of our reaction to what is happening. And I will advise that we don't have to go on destruction, whether of properties or of lives. What is happening in South Africa is unfortunate. They do not call for it. But what I think in terms of finding solution is for the Nigerian government at this critical point to summon an emergency meeting of AU. I think it's a critical issue that warrants AU to step in. And when we take this pragmatic approach, everybody will now also come to admit that Nigeria has demonstrated leadership.
In the meantime, the federal government has advised Nigerians in South Africa to avoid high-risk and volatile areas in South Africa following renewed xenophobic attacks on foreign nationals until the situation is brought under control. A statement by Fernand Nwoye, spokesperson of the Foreign Affairs Minister, the federal government explained that government is seriously concerned with the tension in South Africa and is therefore engaging relevant authorities to ensure safety of Nigerians. The statement commended South African police for arresting perpetrators and also calls for their immediate prosecution. Similarly, FCT Minister Mohamed Musa Bello has called on residents of the Federal Capital Territory, especially students and youths, not to carry out retaliatory attacks on South African nationals and business interests in the FCT over the recent xenophobic attacks on Nigerians in that country. A statement by Chief Press Secretary to the Minister, Anthony Ogunleye, states that the federal government has already explored diplomatic channels to address the issue. He says South African businesses in the FCT are in partnership with Nigerian investors and are contributing to the economic development of the territory. And the National Orientation Agency, NOA, has appealed to Nigerians to remain peaceful and law-abiding, despite the unwarranted provocation of xenophobic killings of Nigerians in South Africa and destruction of their businesses, saying that violence is not in Nigerians' national core value. Director General of NOA, Dr. Garba Abari, made the appeal in Abuja in the wake of appraisal attack in parts of the country by some Nigerians, stressing that the federal government is engaging with the South African government and taking all necessary measures to effectively address the situation. In the same vein, the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution has expressed concern over the xenophobic attacks on Nigerians and other Africans by some miscreants in South Africa. The Director General of IPCR, Professor Bakut T. Bakut, called on South Africans to remember the historical relationship between South Africa and other African countries, which dated back to the days of apartheid. And the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has ordered watertight security around embassies, foreign missions, foreigners and their businesses within the country. This order is against the backdrop of the attack on ShopRite outlets in Lekki area of Lagos State by some miscreants who attacked and looted the malls under the pretext of protesting against the incessant xenophobic attacks in South Africa. All zonal assistant inspector generals of police and commissioners of police across the federation have been placed on red alert to ensure no similar violence is replicated within the country. The IGP, who condemned the violent attacks, states that 3 police officers were seriously injured and a police operational vehicle set ablaze. A total number of 125 suspects have been arrested in connection with the incident, while a good number of looted valuables have been recovered by the police. Meanwhile, the force has commenced investigations and profiling of the arrested suspects with a view to establishing their connection with the stealing, malicious damage, arson and disturbance of a public peace on the day of the incident. The force is hereby reassuring all abiding citizens, embassies, foreign missions, foreigners and other businesses within the country of their security and safety. And the National Human Rights Commission has joined other Nigerians in condemning in strong terms the xenophobic attacks on Nigerians and other nationals in South Africa. Francis Form reports that the Executive Secretary of the Commission called on the International Criminal Court to assume jurisdiction on the matter so as to bring perpetrators to justice.
Xenophobia in South Africa may be a phenomenon, but it is one that has continued to reoccur and is synonymous with violence and hatred towards foreigners. Over the last couple of years, foreign nationals, including Nigerians, have fallen victims to the hateful attacks.
Nigeria has sent a special envoy.
This, the Executive Secretary of National Human Rights Commission, Tony Ojukwu, condemns. He also appeals to Nigerians not to take laws into their hands.
For a permanent solution to the ongoing xenophobic attacks in South Africa, that the International Criminal Court must hold accountable the government officials that through their comments or actions have supported this and have fueled these xenophobic attacks that have become systemic.
Mr. Ojukwu urges governments to conduct an inquest to determine the number of lives lost and extent of damage to properties belonging to Nigerians so as to ensure due compensation to the victims and their families. In Abuja, Francis Form, NTA News.
Thank you, Francis. And now I have with me in the studio the former Nigerian ambassador to Liberia, Ayo Adigun, to talk more on the issue of xenophobic attack. It's good to have you on News Extra tonight, Ambassador.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah.
So, what are your reactions when you heard about these attacks, even though, you know, it happened sometime 2 years back and then now it's happening?
Well, this is not my first time of hearing this. It's been long, since 2008. We've spoken on this many times on NTA, even 2013 when the thing escalated. They are killing the ass all other African countries, because initially it started like Afrophobia. That's all African. They were estimated that almost 14 million or so black Africans were in South Africa because of the various conflicts going on and because of colonization. But if you look at it this way, after apartheid has been eradicated, Nigeria, we can't, you know, everybody knows at the international community, United Nations, African Union, the role Nigeria played, right from independence, when we became independent in 1960. And our forefathers initiated what Nigeria's foreign policy direction should be. It was our manifest destiny to see Africa as a centerpiece. And we have been using that all along to help. And Nigeria determined that we have gotten our independence, and no other Nigeria independence will not be complete until all other countries in Africa under colonialism are freed. And that was what Nigeria did. We started also apartheid, to liquidate apartheid, that obnoxious policy of discrimination on race basis. And we did a lot of things, you know, in the Southern Africa. We helped in most of the frontline states, Zambia, Mozambique, Angola. They all got their independence through some of the efforts Nigeria spearheaded at the United Nations. And we were also having the anti-apartheid committee, both at the UN and so what I see is that this should stop.
It should stop.
It should stop. Nigeria cannot continue to condone this. We have said this a long time ago, and the time is now.
The time is now.
Yes.
Okay, how would you rate the government's reaction so far?
Well, for the first time, Nigeria has taken the appropriate principle stand based on diplomatic relations. We don't believe in tit for tat diplomacy. All we need to do is to use diplomatic solution to the matter. The first thing is to ensure that the president sent a special expert to South Africa. They will go and look at the situation, dialogue with the government of South Africa, because the government of South Africa has the responsibility to make sure that this thing is resolved. Then, in the resolution, in fact, we have to give a warning to other African countries.
So what you're saying now is that so far so good. The federal
so far so
government
good. They must discuss it. South Africa must pay reparation for both the properties of the Nigeria destroyed and the life killed. Because also this thing I put under international law, the government of South Africa is liable to have allowed this xenophobia to degenerate into this crisis proportion.
So lastly, what would you say to Nigerians? You know, we've had
should
reactions from Lagos and other.
Yes, Nigeria should not. I don't believe in retaliation. It will hurt more. It will not allow for proper diplomatic settlement. Tit for that with
taking to the next level. With the next level agenda, more is in the pipeline, and that is why the federal government is promising to collaborate effectively with the Nigerian Society of Engineers. President Muhammadu Buhari, who stated this while granting audience to the Executive Council members of the society, maintains that Nigeria's problem require a unique Nigerian solution. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Over the years, Nigerian engineers have been recognized globally for carrying out amazing and impactful projects. This is not the case here at home.
For decades, President Muhammadu Buhari said the enabling environment was simply not provided for the nation's innovative and creative professionals to flourish and showcase the country as an engineering hub.
Many nations we look up to are those with adequate and accessible infrastructure, power, and water resources. They achieved this by embracing engineering and, of course, engineers.
In Nigeria, he, however, laments the infrastructure deficit continued to grow, and quality remains on the decline despite the engineers and technicians produced in their numbers by the various academic and vocational institutions. The president said to reverse this trend, his administration introduced executive orders and other policy initiatives aimed at creating the enabling environment for engineers to succeed and thrive. Several infrastructure development and rehabilitation projects have also been embarked upon, in addition to prioritizing local content in the nation's procurement process.
I am therefore pleased to hear that you are seeing and feeling the impact of these policies. I will ask that you continue to support the government at all levels so that we can collectively work to build a more prosperous society. I will look forward to our continued partnership as we transform Nigeria into the nation of our dreams.
The president of the Council of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Adekunle Mokolu, had told the president that they were in the State House to formally thank him for the enormous work being done towards putting Nigeria back on the path of development. The council is particularly delighted over the government's recognition of the importance of engineers to the advancement of the Nigerian nation, promising that its members will never be disappointing.
Given our training and experiences on cost and appraising, we urge Mr. President, sir, to involve the Nigerian Society of Engineers at the conceptual and initial stages of the processes for new engineering projects, particularly the one tied to loans. We can add value to ensuring stress-free repayment, increasing local capacity for those skills and the knowledge and materials required for delivery. By so doing, we can guarantee, Mr. President, sir, that Nigeria will be in a position to give loans to other countries that may need our assistance in the future. In order to prove our professional proficiency, we humbly request you, sir, to assign to members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers 1 or 2 engineering projects as a challenge to provide solutions in planning, design, and construction.
With enormous strength of membership and a network of 75 branches across Nigeria and another 2 in the diaspora, harnessing the intellectual resources of the nation's engineers abroad, the council believes that its members have much more to offer in driving the next level agenda for sustainable economic and infrastructure development. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Federal government directs governors and traditional rulers of Taraba and Benue states to call to order those failing the recurrent Tiv Jukun crisis. Details when News Extra returns.
Now me I go ask and say, why all of us go pay 100,000 naira? Say your husband, he want do 70th birthday. She now all of us marry them together. When her mama die, she collects money. Her papa die, she collects money. Her mama die, she collects. You remember when she talked, say she wanted her mama dead body. Mama, you too talk. Now you be glad when they dash me credit anyhow. Imagine 40-year-old dead body. Why you they laugh now? Now try to bring your money. Mama, no laugh. Not be you, Jare. Now some apropos customer there when they know they mind their own business. Whoa, I never even begin to give you her gist.
Glow and Maple. Get 5 times your recharge to call all networks. Recharge with *555*PIN#.
Make her sell my market finish first, eh? I will call you back. Oh.
Glow Unlimited.
Bayes University is a fully licensed university operating since 2011 and has grown to have 32 accredited programs in 6 faculties. This includes computer and applied sciences, management and social sciences, engineering, environmental sciences, law, and basic medical sciences. The university also offers postgraduate programs and foundation courses in a conducive learning environment with modern teaching facilities and high-quality national and international staff. Bayes University graduates have either progressed into respectable career positions or have obtained postgraduate degrees from different parts of the world with distinctions. Call or visit www.bayesuniversity.edu.ng. Bayes University, Abuja. Learn to live.
This is to inform all eligible customers with Port Harcourt, Jos, Anambra, Ikeja and Eko electricity distribution areas that there will be a public consultation on Competition Transition Charge (CTC) being organized by the Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission (NEC). This follows similar consultation workshops on CTC held in Abuja, Kano and Kaduna in July 2019. The venue for the events are as follows: Transcorp Hotel, Calabar, the Emerald's House, Oka, the Crest Hotel, Jos, Eko Hotel and Suites, Lagos. Dates are 6th and 10th September 2019. Industry stakeholders, consumer groups, the general public and other interested parties are invited. Check www.nerc.gov.ng for further details. Signed, Management.
Yeah, Mom, you are extraordinary. You always go the extra mile to make sure my breakfast is made with extra nutritious Milo. I want to say a big thank you. You are extra precious and extra super.
Milo is thanking moms for being extraordinary by giving the family an extra 50 grams of delicious Milo for every 500-gram pouch bought. Don't miss out. Offer valid while stocks last.
#555*PIN#. Make I sell my market finish first, eh? I will call you back. Oh.
Glow Unlimited.
Good to have you back on News Extra. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo would be participating in the 2019 African Green Revolution Forum, AGRF, in Accra, Ghana, themed Grow Digital, leveraging digital transformation to drive sustainable food systems in Africa. The forum, which opened on the 3rd of September, will be taking place through the 6th of September 2019 at the Accra International Conference Center. A press release by Laolo Akande, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Office of the Vice President, states that the conference presents a premier platform for African and global leaders from both the public and private sectors to advance policies, programs and investments, as well as harnessing agriculture in ensuring food security, increasing income and promoting economic development in the continent. Vice President Osinbajo and the other leaders at the forum will share their experiences in capturing the gains of the digital era to improve food systems, increase adaptation and drive innovation to achieve the goals laid out in the Malabo Declaration of the African Union 2014 and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, set by the United Nations General Assembly in 2015 for the year 2030. Osinbajo departs Abuja today and is expected back tomorrow in the country. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has called on Director Generals and Chief Executives of agencies in the culture sector to explore culture as a potent tool for promoting peace and sustainable development in the country. The minister handed down the call when he received in audience the Director Generals and the executive officers of the agencies in Abuja. Anthony Forson reports.
The minister told the CEOs that the challenge handed them to explore and exploit the possibility of using culture as a tool for peace and sustainable development in the country is necessitated by the myriad of social vices plaguing the society.
These problems are not unconnected to the breakdown in moral values and increasing disregard for our cultural values.
Lai Mohammed reminded the DGs and CEOs of the role of culture in ensuring societal peace and sustainable development, as well as strengthening international relations, which was at the core of this year's World Cultural Day with the theme Culture for Sustainable Peace and Development. The minister maintained that at the moment, Nigeria needs cultural renaissance in order to inculcate the desired values that promotes peace and unity among the citizens.
We must also use cultural diplomacy to help reduce incidences like the ongoing xenophobic attacks against Nigerians in South Africa, which has led to deaths and loss of livelihood for many of our citizens living in South Africa.
In his remarks, the leader of the delegation and the Director General of the National Council for Arts and Culture, Otumba Segun Rushewe, said the DGs and CEOs came to congratulate him and thank President Muhammadu Buhari for reappointing him as the Minister of Information and Culture.
I want to assure you, sir, on behalf of my colleagues that I stayed here, if what we gave to you last time was cooperation, what we are going to give to you this time will be a marriage of success for our great country. And that's why we've all come together to put this across to you.
He added that the minister's efforts will go down on record that he will be the longest serving minister in the sector from what has happened now, as this is the first time a minister is being returned to his seat in that sector. In Abuja, Anthony Fosun, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has described the Secretary to the Federal Government of the Federation, Bas Mustapha, as a hardworking and committed public official. In a goodwill message he sent to the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to mark his 63rd birthday anniversary, the President commended the zeal at which Bas Mustapha discharges his duties for the progress of Nigeria. He also expressed satisfaction with his conduct as the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, wishing him many happy returns. And in another development, Nigerians, irrespective of their educational status and location, are creative, innovative, and industrious. Their creativity is noticeable in all aspects of the country's socio-economic well-being, be it construction, fashion technology, name it. To this end, the federal government, through the Ministry of Science and Technology, is to create a platform that will encourage commercialization of innovations and research of Nigerians. The minister, Dr. Bonaya Onu, stated this, affirmed that this will be helpful in establishing valuable startups that will rejuvenate the small and medium-scale enterprises. Justin Bemunyi reports.
The Federal Ministry of Science and Technology under the present administration, having flipped over 4 years behind and 5 years now counting, with the reappointment of the minister, has sustained a vision to ensure that science, technology and innovation holds the key to the success of the economy diversification program of the federal government. The ministry has affirmed that during this period, it succeeded in creating a strong consciousness in the minds of Nigerians that science, technology and innovation remains the right way to go in building the nation, as it worked hard in formulating and implementing many policies. These include the Science, Technology and Innovation Roadmap 2017 to 2023, the National Strategy for Competitiveness in Raw Materials and Product Development, Nigeria's First Leader Policy and the Executive Order No. 5, which the ministry says has helped to champion the course of moving Nigeria from a resource-based to a knowledge-based, innovation-driven economy. The ministry now is determined to take a path to deploy technology to help realize the present administration's aspiration that in 10 years from now, 100 million Nigerians will be out of poverty.
To achieve this requires the private sector utilizing the technologies developed by this ministry to convert ideas that would have remained as research findings in the laboratories to products and services made available in the marketplace for all to buy. This will provide the needed jobs.
The priority for the ministry now is to pursue the Executive Order Number 5 as a law to give bite to its implementation. This, the minister says, is among other programs such as achieving food security, fighting corruption, exploiting renewable energy, developing appropriate technology to give transparent elections and the nation's security. In Abuja, Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
The inauguration of 42 ministers by the president last month set in the motion the next level agenda with a firm commitment on transforming Nigeria's economy through exemplary leadership. Guests on NTA's Current Affairs program Tuesday Live advocates the need for the private sector to consolidate on productive initiatives of the federal government for the good of Nigerians. Do India reports.
In achieving the set targets and growing the nation's economy, there is a clear need to boost activities to grow the local economy. Guests on NTA Tuesday Live assert that government's huge spending in critical infrastructure becomes more meaningful only when it has direct bearing on the people. This, according to them, is where the private sector comes in.
But now that we're talking about the next 4 years, I can assure you that we want to be held to account for every promise or every projection that has been made on this platform.
The corruption is with impunity. The chief or the head is involved. So everybody is free for all. But now there is a stop to a certain level.
You don't need to look at Abuja or even your state capital for redemption. Your redemption is nearest to you, your local government.
The consensus on these platforms sprang from the need for key private sector players to key into public policy actions with capacity to open opportunities for the expansion of small and medium enterprises in the country.
We are coming from an economy that historically are dependent on a single mono product, and it's vulnerable to whatever the temperament of the global market is. And to that extent, we must take time to start looking inward.
Every Nigerian citizen who is running a small-scale operation, a medium-scale enterprise, is going to be eligible to access up to 1 million naira in interest-free loans. I'm talking about hairdressers, car mechanics, plumbers, carpenters, tailors, farmers, market traders, everybody.
The move to take millions of Nigerians out of poverty may not be far-fetched if Nigerians join hands with the government to drive its vision. In Abuja, Doing Dia, NTA News.
Now, for those who love Plateau State and visit Jos regularly, I advise you to keep in touch with the coal city because you might go there in the nearest future and lose your way around. I say this because in its quest to upgrade Jos Metropolis to a better cosmopolitan status, Plateau State government has embarked on aggressive urban renewal, which is already at advanced stage of completion. Ali Sabatu Andrew went around the city and brings this report.
This is the popular Old Airport Roundabout, which has the highest number of roads linking to 4 major areas of the metropolis, including Rayfield, the seat of government. Some notable infrastructure and rehabilitation projects going on simultaneously in Jos City includes modification of major roundabouts with towers and monuments, installations of solar-powered streetlights, which has given the government Rayfield area and other parts of the city a befitting look at night. Aside this, the planting of ornamental trees and lush green flowers, as well as reconstruction of some failed road networks and drainages, are all parts of efforts to upgrade the look of Jos City.
Aesthetics beauty of the state is indeed truly being enhanced.
Trying to keep the place clean and beautiful, I think it goes a long way to say that that is what we are well known for. I believe it's a right step in the right direction.
There is a lot of improvement. The road
congestion is highly decongested.
We want to commend individuals and government that are making effort to keep the state clean. So more efforts should be geared towards improving on what they are currently doing.
Reacting to the development, Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong restated his administration's commitment to expanding economic ventures, double infrastructure, aggressive urban renewal program, and promotion of young talents.
Once the environment is peaceful, all you need to do is to again provide the enabling environment for business. Like the CFOs that we have done, I cut the price to 50%, and we are facilitating even the pace of obtaining the CFO. We are improving on our power system, and so the light in this place is different from what you used to see.
The expectation of government is that in the next few months, when these projects are completed, Jos will join other cities in Nigeria with cosmopolitan status. In Jos, Alisa Batukai Andrew, NTA News.
I will say kudos to the Plateau State government. Now, it's teaching time, they say, saves 9. NIMET warned residents of Makurdi, the Benue State capital, especially those at the bank of River Benue, who are getting apprehensive as the volume of water continue to rise day by day. The Commissioner of Water Resources and Environment, Benue State, says the government is monitoring the development and affirms that the current level is close to that of 2012 that submerged many homes and farmlands.
Following the persistent downpour at the upper Benue, the volume of water at the river Benue has maintained a steady rise well above the 10 meters, which is the burst level. At the moment, as the water continues to surge, it gives signals to people living close to the river Benue that disaster is in the offing. Magaji Loko, who carries out sand excavation business at the banks of the river, explains that the upsurge has not only hampered various activities, but it has become a threat to residents.
Ending of the August, because the water is there. Then they walk there, then they pursue, come small. Now they reach here. Water they call anytime, in the night, in the afternoon, in the morning.
The boats that you are seeing here at the moment are at the premises of the National Inland Waterways Authority, Area Office, Makurdi. The level of the River Benue at the moment is beginning to threaten the office, and that is why something needs to be done quickly to ensure that the office is not sacked. Commissioner for Water Resources and Environment, Dondo Ahire, who described the current level as alarming, calls on residents of various areas affected by the 2012 flooding to vacate immediately.
It's as high as the level we had in 2012. So it portends a lot of danger for residents who are living in flood-prone areas.
He further said that the situation would be worsened if water from the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon is released. In Makurdi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
This next story is a good example of different strokes for different folks. While Makurdi residents are worried about flood, their Aloji counterparts in Kogi are making a passionate appeal to the government to come to their aid due to erosion, which has cut them off from other parts of the local government area. Jacob Sani visited the community and brought back this report.
The gully erosion, which started some years ago, according to investigation by NTA News, has cut off Aloji community, known to be one of the district headquarters in the local government area of Kogi State. The natural disaster has already separated only government institutions established some decades.
See, all of our buildings falling because of this thing.
We have farm for this across this gutter here. We cannot enter our farm. All the food we planted for there has destroyed.
Our streams, the streams we fetch from within here are located along this side.
Equally affected the shortest link to their neighboring communities.
This is the primary school that was established in 1949. This is where myself and others also started their primary school. But unfortunately, the primary school is now cut off from the rest community.
With the rainfall now at its peak, the people say their life is in danger.
I want to call on the government at all levels, Kogi State government and the federal government, to come to the aid of the community.
The erosion you are seeing here in Aloji community is a reflection of what happened in other local government area of Kogi State. Jacob Sani, NT News.
There can be no meaningful development without peace, and peace thrives where there is collective effort. This is why the federal government has directed the governors of Taraba and Benue states, as well as the Tor-Tiv and Aku Uka of Wukari, to call everyone feeling the recurrent Tiv-Jukun crisis to order for peace to prevail. Secretary to the government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, who chaired a peace meeting among stakeholders from the two states in Abuja, says government is willing to implement far-reaching resolutions that will end the crisis. Mitari Ikben reports.
Political and traditional leaders from Taraba and Benue states arrived at Shehu Musa Yaradua Center. It is for a crucial meeting to reach a truce on the recurrent hostilities between the Tiv and Jukun ethnic groups, fueled by indigenous settler claims and land disputes. Everyone seems to agree that the killings and hostilities are needless, including the recent murder of a reverend father in Takum, local government area of Taraba State.
As a former leader in this country, I should be able to go anywhere and speak on behalf of the Jukuns if their interests are threatened in Nigeria.
Nobody can establish and grow this peace for us.
There is nothing like peace. Peace is paramount.
And I think me and you, we are very capable of solving this problem.
We therefore wish to call on the federal government to intervene in the crisis by providing us with adequate security, which we all know the two state governments don't have control of.
The royal fathers also lent their voices to the clamor for peace.
I want to talk about issues that will promote peace. So all these things I did it with genuine interest of bringing peace.
Aggregating their submissions, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Bas Mustafa, said President Buhari is committed to fostering peace between the warring communities.
We would stand with you. We will do everything within the instrumentality of government facilities and actions that are supposed to be taken. After you have resolved the issues you want us to address, we will take them up.
Expectations are high that this peace meeting at the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari has set in motion peace-building processes that will bring to an end recurrent hostilities between the Tiv and Jukun ethnic groups in Taraba and Benue states. From the Shehu Musa Yaradua Center, Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
Thank you very much, Mitari, for that. And do you know that the temporary closure of the border in some states is checking illegal entry of assorted food items and also improving security in the states? You may say how. Well, we'll bring you details when we return. Please stay.
Bag of goodies. Scratch and win promo. Hey, you never big like this before. Many Kaja that wolf they wait to now for this season. For the Dangote bag of goodies, scratch and win promo. 43 tier over cars, over 200 million naira money cash, tricycles, motorcycles, refrigerators, televisions, and plenty other gifts. Where you stay fit to win, no. Only thing what you need to do to win now to just buy one bag of Dangote special bag of goodies cement. Check inside the bag for scratch card. Scratch the card and anything what you see inside now you don't win. So come carry your scratch card to that Dangote depot where they near you. Carry am go regional office or wholesale shop where they your area. So you go fit to collect what you win in sharply. As you buy more bags, now be say you get more opportunity to win plenty more better. Check posters and newspapers for more story. The promo go day from July 1st to September 31st, 2019. Everybody dance now. What? Louder. We are the strongest. No challenge can stop us. Oh Lord, and we are the brightest. No darkness can blind us. We are the strongest.
Malta Guinness is packed with B vitamins to fuel your greatness on the go.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. It's in your mind, Abi. The person with them go help us. Babatoros and Shangalo, Ogalekuva, Mr. Sabi. And you know if we carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We Sabi say Peking will crawl before in waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for it. Go for football. Go for all Syria and La Liga matches live. Go for GoTV Max.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Please, did you hear that?
Of course I did. That is Village Elmaster tune.
So, Auntie Amebo was not gossiping then?
Village Elmaster is celebrating 50 years.
50? Already? This is not a joke.
It is a national celebration. NTA and Village Elmaster family are commemorating 50 years.
Hey, please, tell me, when is our Golden Jubilee?
It is from the 8th to 11th of October, 2019.
I have to go and get ready. It's time to party.
Women. But we, men, will be there too.
Welcome back. We now pause here in Abuja to join Abolade Salami in Lagos live for business news. Abolade, it's over to you.
Thank you, Fatima, and welcome to Lagos. The Minister of State Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba, has emphasized the need for coordination of the activities of development partners in Nigeria, saying it will now be compulsory in order to achieve aid effectiveness and efficiency. The minister said this at the high-level roundtable meeting on national donor coordination held at the Ministry of Finance, Abuja. He also revealed that the ministry has already finalized the official development assistance policy, which seeks to maximize the benefits of international assistance and ensure alignment with national priorities. He called on donors and partners to update their reports in the development assistance database system domiciled in the ministry, and also channel all their interventions through the ministry, which is the country's gateway to development assistance. Intense efforts by the federal government to encourage the patronage of made-in-Nigerian products is aimed at conserving the nation's foreign reserve, as well as help strengthen the naira against the dollar. Industry players, while describing the initiative as key to driving financial self-dependency, called for full compliance. Nigeria, regarded as the heartbeat of Africa with respect to our diverse natural resources, population strength and huge market space for businesses to thrive, over the years had depended largely on importation of some products that can be sourced locally. Worried by this trend, the federal government, as part of measures to reduce this practice, with a view to growing Nigeria's domestic market, placed restriction of forex on importation of products. A move industry players described as beneficial to boost domestic markets and add value to the production of small and medium-scale enterprises.
In terms of government pronouncements and policies, government has done very well. We have the Executive Order 003, we have the Procurement Act, and we have the constant campaign by government that Nigerians should patronize made in Nigerian products. And in some respects, we have seen that government has made effort.
That use made in Nigeria, use what we produce and consume what we produce. No country can be great without the support of its own populace.
They submitted that collaborative effort be strengthened between the government and organized private sector to ensure implementation. And now let's talk a bit of equities. The second quarter GDP figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics may have shaped investors' confidence in the market, as the two-day rally could not sustain its run after close of Wednesday's trading. Here are details of midweek trading activities. Activities dipped by 0.9% to close the all-share index below the 29,000 psychological line. Traded number of shares finished at 250 million, valued at 3.19 billion naira, which changed hands in 3,219 deals, with a market capitalization of 13.2 trillion naira. On the activity chart, International Brewery, WAPCO and GlaxoSmith appreciated in figures, while on the flip side, Nestle, Guinness and Dangote Cement declined in figures. On sectoral performance, virtually all sectors closed in the red, except for NSE Industrial, that went up slightly by 0.29%, while NSE Banking, Consumer Goods, Insurance, and Oil and Gas closed in the red, depreciating by 0.74%, 2.19%, 1.02%, and 0.79%. And that's a wrap on business. It's back to Fatima in Abuja for the rest of the news. Good evening.
Thank you very, very much, Abolade. Now, job creation drive, safety and security of cargoes and trucks, in addition to revenue generation to federal, state and local governments, have been enhanced in Yobe State. This positive scenario is courtesy of Governor Mai Mala Buni, who laid the foundation for the construction of a modern truck transit park and mechanics village in Patiskum town. Mustafa Yusuf Musa reports.
The truck transit park, located along Bochi Kano bypass in Patiskum town, is sitting on a 50 hectares of land with additional 50 hectares allocated for mechanics village. The modern multi-million naira project was conceived by Yobe State government to be executed in partnership with the Nigerian Shippers Council and meant to create jobs, wealth and revenue generation, in addition to ensuring safety and security for cargoes and trucks in transit, as well as decongesting the cosmopolitan town of trailers.
These jobs and their positive spin-offs will certainly transform wealth creation in Yobe State and improve the economy overall.
Statistics from the Yobe State chapter of the National Association of Road Transport Owners indicate that Patiskum town receives 300 articulated vehicles on daily basis, with 280 others leaving the town to various destinations within and outside the country.
Transport is a critical determinant in the conduct of domestic and international trade.
Stakeholders in the transport sector believe that situating such modern transport infrastructure in the area will no doubt accelerate socio-economic activities across the state. In Damaturu, I am Mustafa Yusuf Musa, NTA News.
And since the advent of technology, nations have not relented in boosting and advancing technological skills and development. As Nigeria's foremost development finance institution, the Bank of Industry, BOI, continues to partner organizations to build and strengthen entrepreneurs' capacity. It has inaugurated a tech hub to serve the burning desires of youth and entrepreneurs in the Ajah axis of Lagos State. Adiola Omokive has the details.
This inauguration of a tech hub by the representative of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is to further boost and create opportunity for the teeming youths and entrepreneurs to have access to quality tech hub. The initiative is also supportive of the state's use of cutting-edge technology to do business.
Bank of Industry in specific is making an investment in mind, investment in people, so that they can take advantage of a facility.
Managing Director, Bank of Industry, Kayode Biton, said the bank recognizes ingenuity and creativity among Nigerian youths, which propelled the management of the bank to promote skills development in new technology and innovation.
You can come here, you can register. There are already companies who are here, who are doing business. Another thing that we are doing with this is to show people that there's business opportunities in this area. So we would like people to partner, come up with their capital and set up this type of hubs in different places. There are many Nigerians who want to use them.
The tech hub, which boasts of a robotics lab, had children between the ages of 10 and 16 displaying their creativity before the dignitaries.
I just thought it was just making of robots and rubbish, but in the middle, it became so interesting.
This tech hub provides for us an environment for us to come to work at
at a very affordable rate. We are priming the generation of what is going to obtain in the 21st generation.
Situated at kilometer 25, Lekki-Ekpe Expressway, the Bank of Industry and Vertebra Skill Hub has several facilities ranging from conference room, robotics lab, idea creative section to a server room. In Lagos, Adeola Omokive, NTA News.
Very interesting one, I must say. Now, point of sale. I'm sure many do not know that's what POS means. Well, know it now. It's point of sale. Back to the story. POS have tremendously grown with presence in every nook and cranny of the country. Despite the viability of the innovation, POS operators have become appealing targets for criminal elements since the operators deal with cash. Olajide Bello examines this on the heels of the murder of one of the POS operators in Akure, Ondo State.
The deployment of technology into banking operations in Nigeria gave rise to point of sale, otherwise known as POS. Today, the POS, run mostly by private individuals with attachments to various commercial banks, are rendering banking services, especially to the unbanked.
When you go to the bank now, you will be on queue for some times. But when you go to POS, any area where they are doing POS, the thing will reduce. You don't even have much stress on it again.
This shop belongs to 29-year-old Nafisat Ibrahim, a POS operator who was allegedly shot last week. Like many of the operators, Nafisat operated her POS business from this ramshackle kiosk located in the open along a major street. So the issue of security of operators of POS and their funds remains a major worry both to the operators and law enforcement agents.
There's no security at all because like what happened to our neighbor, so it's brought more fear. They came here to attack my husband. That is the face of the bullets.
The police say while it may be practically impossible to provide security for each and every POS operator in the state, those managing such outlets will have to ensure that steps are taken to secure themselves and their cash.
We have rejigged our security architecture to ensure that things like that don't happen. And for the one that has happened, we are going to dig into it to ensure that the perpetrators are brought to justice. Also want to advise too that operators of this type of business should always be very mindful of their environment. They should always be mindful of the time they do this type of business.
While investigation by the police is continuing towards unraveling those behind the gruesome murder of Miss Nafisat, the critical challenge is how to secure other operators of POS business in the interest of public safety. From Akure, Olajide Bello, NTA News.
Yeah, some question there, Olajide. Now, markets as a place of business transactions is one of the components of a city and a major source of government's internally generated revenue. A siting of a market helps in planning the aesthetics of a locality and assists in proper documentation and data generation. Why then would traders prefer to abandon the market for illegal and indiscriminate erection of shops and shanties, even on the major streets, thereby defacing the city and obstructing traffic? That is the focus of this special report by Chiduma Tasi.
The people of the southeast geopolitical zone of the country are synonymous with commerce, which is buying and selling, and their trade expertise is practiced beyond their home states. The market, no doubt, remains the traditional center of buying and selling in Nigeria, especially in Abia State. However, the marketplaces in the state in recent times have been facing challenges of inadequate facilities. This is one of the reasons traders say they find it difficult to comply with market guidelines. Erection of substandard stores in unapproved areas has become the order of the day. In Abia State, The Ubani ultra-modern market, also known as Dubai Market, is one of such markets where traders are refusing to cooperate, thereby giving government officials a hard time.
I'm urging them to cooperate with government so that they will move peacefully, so that there will be no need whatsoever to hunt and hound people from one place to another.
The traders, however, attribute their action to low turnout of buyers at the market, blaming it on those who shed their wares on the roads. Illegal shops scattered all over the town and the infrastructural collapse of the markets.
The thing they vessels well. The thing they make, some people know they enter here, come they buy market. That place, them bulk us there.
I want them to come and take care of this market and build it, rebuild it.
The Umahiya Dubai market, according to stakeholders, if properly harnessed and given an infrastructural facelift, will, among other things, improve internally generated revenue of the state, as well as tackle the problem of unemployment. In Umahiya, Chidema Dasie, NTA News.
And from Umahiya down to Jigawa, the famous Maigatari town in Jigawa State is now a ghost of its usual self, as the hustle and bustle that characterized the international border community are being brought to a standstill due to the partial closure of the border with neighboring Niger. Correspondent Ibrahim Belogunda reports that barely 2 weeks after its introduction, the policy is yielding positive results in curtailing smuggling activities and transborder crimes.
Located about 230 kilometers from Dutse, the Jigawa state capital, Maigatari is an international border community with Zindar state in Niger Republic. The border town was made famous by its weekly international cattle market, while on the other hand, economic saboteurs take advantage of its strategic location to perpetrate smuggling activities. However, a visit to the area revealed that this narrative has changed due to total shutdown of entry and exit points of the two neighboring countries. The streets of Maigatari that used to be a beehive of activities are deserted due to the enforcement of the movement restriction order. A cross-section of residents urge Nigerians to take such government policies in good faith and best interest of the country.
It's just a temporary